All of us have had that ridiculous thing said to us about how we feed our babies, where we just roll our eyes and wonder, how could this person be so insensitive or not understand the complexities of the perinatal period so much that they are able to say that rude thing to me? We get it also during pregnancy, right? It feels like we just can't win sometimes. As women in general, but then also really it ramps up once we start having babies. In light of the most recent guest episode that just went out with Michelle Pfizer, who is a licensed mental health counselor specializing in the perinatal period, I thought it would be great to take just a few moments to share what are some of the things you should not say to someone who is struggling with their milk supply, struggling with breastfeeding, deciding between body feeding and pumping, and then what are the ways that you can support somebody? Because even though we have all been in the situation of making these decisions once we become parents, somehow it still seems that once we are beyond that point, we think that we can say these rude things to people. I hope that this episode helps you to feel validated in whatever your feelings have been as you've been feeding your babies, and it gives you some tools to really support your friends and family members as they go through this difficult time as well. So let's get into it. Before we get into it, here's just a quick ad for my sponsor. Remember that when you support my sponsors, you support me to keep this show going and to provide this content for you. When I first returned to work, I had no idea how I was going to manage going to work, handling drop-offs and pickups, and doing all the other duties I needed to do, like get dinner on the table. If you are in this situation, I've got a solution for you. Go to feastandfettle.com, where you can select from a menu of delicious options and have home-cooked meals delivered right to your front door. Imagine taking meal planning off your plate, taking grocery shopping off your plate for those dinners, and knowing that all you have to do is pick up your baby, get home, and heat and serve meals that you have selected for your family. If you live in Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, and now Maine, go to feastandfettle.com and use my code MILK, M-I-L-K, to get $30 off your first order. You've got nothing to lose. First of all, when people are pregnant, they are making lots of decisions about where their baby's going to sleep, where their baby's going to go to childcare. Are they going to return to work, or can they stay home? Or do they want to stay home? Where are they going to birth their baby? Are they going to hire a doula? Do they have support for the postpartum period? Are they going to go through a midwifery practice or an OB/GYN practice? People are making so many decisions about how this is going to go. They're putting all this mental energy into making the best preparations for their babies that they know how. And we often feel like we have the right, as people who have already had babies, to ask very personal questions. So this might sound a little controversial because I am an advocate of normalizing breastfeeding. However, there are so many emotions tied into breastfeeding: fear, excitement, worry, not knowing if you're able to do it or not, because we get all these messages saying how hard it is. So my first tip is to not ask people about their birth plans and their baby feeding plans. So instead of saying things like, where are you going to give birth? What type of birth do you want to have? Are you going to have an epidural? How are you going to feed your baby? Are you going to breastfeed? Are you going to pump? Do you want a formula feed? Instead of asking things like, are you going to breastfeed? Just ask more open-ended questions. If you are really just trying to be supportive and not wanting to dig into their personal lives, you can just simply say, hey, how you feeling about preparing for the baby? I just want you to know that I know that this period is filled with a lot of emotions, and I'm here for you if you have any questions. And you can leave it at that. You can even say, I know that I struggled with a lot of decisions, like whether or not to stay home or go back to work, or how I was going to feed my baby. And so if you have any questions about my thought process, I would be happy to help you. Even as an IBCLC who specializes in helping families to feed human milk to human babies, I do not ask this invasive question. Because right now it is so personal and there are so many emotions tied up in this decision that unless it's somebody who is very close to you and you know that you talk about the most intimate details of your life, just ask the more open-ended questions. Secondly, once the baby is born, and we could go into so much about preparing for birth, but I'm going to stick to baby feeding. Once the baby is born, the types of questions you should be asking are you getting enough support? Are there any professionals that you would like referrals to that I use that were helpful to me? I hope baby feeding is going well. I just want you to know you are a great parent. So just keeping things very open-ended. It's not really our business to know how somebody is feeding their baby. So unless this is a person who is very close to you, do not ask the mom at the playground or the mom in your mom group or the parent at church or a parent that you see very irregularly at soccer practice for an older child how they are feeding their baby. The better question during this period is, are you feeling supported? And if you're willing to help, can I bring you a meal? Would you like me to pick up your older child to take them to soccer? Questions like this that help somebody know, I care about you, I'm here for you, and I am going to give you the privacy you need to work out all of these intimate details that can take a long time to work out. If you see that somebody is breastfeeding their baby in a public space, I think it's always great to give them a thumbs up and to say you're doing a good job. If you see somebody bottle feeding a baby in public, it's always great to give them a thumbs up and tell them they are doing a great job. It doesn't matter the method by which they are feeding their baby, because it is not our business as people who have not been asked to give unsolicited advice or put undue pressure on somebody who is in a very sensitive time of life to begin with. Another question we often ask is your baby still waking to feed, or is your baby sleeping through the night? The reason I do not like this question is because it puts the normal at sleeping long stretches through the night, which is not biologically or physiologically normal for babies. So some babies sleep through the night. Some babies do sleep through the night at young ages. But most do not. Most are waking pretty frequently. And when we look at the first 6 to 12 months of life, we are really looking at milk intake on a 24-hour period. And so to put the expectation on families by just asking the question, is your baby sleeping through the night, normalizes sleeping through the night instead of normalizing that, yeah, babies wake up. So a better thing to say in this situation is, I hope you're getting a lot of rest. I hope you're finding time to sleep. I hope feeding is going well through the night. So you can just give your well wishes without demanding information from people that they may or may not want to give you. I know for me, when I had my first and I was really struggling with both breastfeeding and sleep, I learned very quickly the people that I could say, honestly, oh my gosh, I am struggling so much. This is so hard. I'm getting so little sleep. My baby just wants to nurse all night long. And I knew the people that I would ask me, how is your baby sleeping? And I would just say, oh, fine. Because I did not want to get into it with people who were just going to give me advice I did not want in that moment. And the final reminder I want to give when it comes to how we interact with new parents once they've had their baby is this. I speak to so many people whose anxiety starts to become entrenched in milk supply, and baby feeding. And so every time they begin to feed their baby, whether it's with a bottle or at their body, they start to feel triggered and anxious and unhappy because they have had difficult experiences from the beginning. So if you are going to bring up baby feeding to someone that you do not know really well, you have no idea how that is going to trigger their mental health to decline. So let's just be as supportive as possible. Let's ask open-ended questions to show that we care about people, we understand, we've been there, without pressuring them to think that they have to give certain answers to meet the various judgments and criteria of the different people that are asking them. I would love to know, what is the weirdest thing that anybody ever asked you during your pregnancy or during the postpartum period? Did somebody ask you about sleep or your breast size or your baby's penis, like whether or not you're going to circumcise? What are the weird things that people asked you during pregnancy and the postpartum period? Let me know. Send me a DM or join the Milk Making Minutes community group and let me know there. I'll post a question there, so you can ask to join the group. I'll let you in, and then you can go up to that post and leave your answers. And with that, if you know somebody in the postpartum period or you yourself are there and you want to get one less thing off your plate and you live in Massachusetts, Connecticut, Maine, Rhode Island, or New Hampshire, go ahead, go to feastandfettle.com, use my code MILK, M-I-L-K, for $30 off your first week's delivery of home-cooked meals right to your front door. It doesn't get any better than that. Have a great day.